Listen, I need you to understand something right now. The morning is not just a time of day. The morning is a weapon. And most people are walking around with a loaded weapon and they don't even know how to use it. You want to know why you're not where you want to be? It's because you're treating the morning like it's optional. You're treating the morning like it's negotiable. But let me tell you something. The morning is the differentiator between those who win and those who wish they could win. See, here's what most people don't understand. Your morning is a seed. And whatever seed you plant in your morning, that's the harvest you're going to reap in your evening. You cannot plant procrastination in the morning and expect to harvest productivity in the afternoon. That's not how the law works. The law is fixed. The law is immutable. When you wake up in the morning, you've got a choice. You can either be a thermostat or you can be a thermometer. A thermometer just reacts to the temperature of the environment. But a thermostat sets the temperature. The morning is where you become the thermostat of your entire day. Now, I'm going to tell you something that's going to change your life if you let it. Discipline is a currency, and the morning is where you make your first deposit. Every single morning that you wake up and you do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, whether you feel like it or not, you're making a deposit in the bank account of your destiny. But most people, they want to make withdrawals without making deposits. They want the harvest without planting the seed. They want the reward without paying the price. And then they wonder why their life is bankrupt. The morning as a weapon, seed. Listen to me very carefully, because what I'm about to tell you is going to separate you from 98% of the population. The morning is a weapon. Now, I know some of you are sitting there thinking that's just motivational talk, but I need you to understand this is not motivation. This is revelation. This is truth that's been hidden in plain sight, and most people walk past it every single day. You see, when I say the morning is a weapon, I'm not being metaphorical. I'm being literal. A weapon is a tool that gives you an advantage over your adversary. And your adversary is not your competitor. Your adversary is not your boss. Your adversary is not the economy. Your adversary is your yesterday. Your adversary is your past self. Your adversary is the person you were who didn't do what they said they were going to do. And the morning is how you defeat that adversary. But here's what most people do. They wake up and they immediately surrender their weapon. They hit snooze, they check their phone, they scroll through social media, they let other people's agenda become their priority before they've even set their own. That's called forfeiting. You just gave away your weapon to the enemy before the battle even started. You showed up to a gunfight with an empty holster because you left your weapon on the nightstand next to your alarm clock. Now, let me tell you about this seed principle, because this is where it gets deep. Everything in life operates on the principle of seed time and harvest. That's not my law. That's the law. As long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest shall not cease. That means if you plant a seed, you're going to get a harvest. But here's what people don't understand. You're always planting seeds. You don't get to choose whether or not you plant. You only get to choose what you plant. When you wake up in the morning, you are holding seeds in your hand. And those seeds are your actions, your thoughts, your intentions, your decisions in those first 60 to 90 minutes. Most people wake up and they plant seeds of chaos. They plant seeds of reactivity. They plant seeds of distraction. And then they wonder why, by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they're harvesting confusion, stress, and overwhelm. But see, you can't plant corn and get tomatoes. That's not how the law works. The law is fixed. The law doesn't negotiate with your feelings. What you do in the morning is quite literally programming your subconscious mind for what you're going to attract, create, and become throughout the rest of your day. Your brain is looking for evidence to support whatever you tell it in the morning. If you wake up and the first thing you plant is doubt, I'm so tired, I don't want to do this, this is hard, your brain spends the rest of the day finding evidence to prove you right. But if you wake up and you plant seeds of power, seeds of purpose, seeds of intentionality, your brain becomes a heat-seeking missile for opportunities that match that frequency. Now here's where people miss it. They think the morning is just about waking up early. No. It's not about the time on the clock. It's about who controls the thermostat. See, there's a difference between a thermostat and a thermometer. Most people live their entire lives as thermometers. They just react to whatever temperature the environment sets. The boss is in a bad mood, now they're in a bad mood. The traffic is heavy, now they're stressed. The news is negative, now they're fearful. They're just thermometers reacting to external conditions. But a thermostat sets the temperature. A thermostat determines what the environment is going to feel like. And the morning is where you decide, am I going to be a thermometer today or am I going to be a thermostat? When you take control of your morning, you're saying, I don't care what the weather is outside. I don't care what my circumstances look like. I don't care how I feel. I am setting the temperature for my day. And this is so critical because most people are waiting for their circumstances to change before they change their behavior. They say, when I get the promotion, then I'll wake up early. When I feel motivated, then I'll start my routine. When things get easier, then I'll be disciplined. But that's backwards. That's trying to get the harvest before you plant the seed. You change your behavior first, and then your circumstances change. You plant the seed in the morning, and then you get the harvest in the evening. Let me make this real practical for you. When you wake up in the morning and you conquer that voice that says, stay in bed, you just planted a seed of self-mastery. When you wake up and you spend time feeding your mind instead of feeding your fear, you just planted a seed of wisdom. When you wake up and you move your body before you move through your day, you just planted a seed of vitality. And every single one of those seeds is going to produce a harvest. But here's the thing about seeds. They don't produce immediately. You don't plant a seed today and get a harvest today. There's a gestation period. And this is where most people quit. They wake up strong on Monday, but by Wednesday, they don't see results yet, so they go back to their old patterns. But the seed was already planted. The seed was already in the ground. You just didn't give it time to break through the soil. The morning is not optional if you want to win. The morning is the prerequisite. It's the entry fee. It's the price of admission to the life you say you want. You cannot pray for a harvest and refuse to plant seeds. You cannot ask for breakthrough and hit the snooze button. You cannot declare that this is your year and then give away the most important hour of every day. And see, when you treat the morning like a weapon, you start to realize you've been walking around with access to power that you never used. Every single morning for your entire life, you've had the ability to change your trajectory. You've had the ability to rewrite your story. You've had the ability to become the person you keep saying you want to be, but you left the weapon in the holster. You left the seed in the bag. Discipline as currency, compound effect. I need you to get this concept deep down in your spirit, because this is the secret that separates people who talk about success from people who actually live it. Discipline is a currency. Now, when I say currency, I don't mean it's like money. I mean, it is money. It's the money. It's the only currency that actually buys the life you want. You can have all the dollars in your bank account, but if you don't have discipline, you're broke. You're financially solvent, but spiritually bankrupt. See, most people think discipline is about restriction. They think discipline is about punishment. They think discipline is about suffering, but that's because they don't understand what currency is. Currency is a medium of exchange. It's what you use to get what you want. And discipline is the currency you exchange for your dreams. Every time you do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, whether you feel like it or not, you're making a deposit. You're putting money in the bank. You're building wealth. But here's where people mess up. They want to make withdrawals without making deposits. They want the corner office, but they won't show up early. They want the six-pack abs, but they won't skip the donuts. They want the thriving business, but they won't do the prospecting. They want the harvest, but they refuse to plant the seed. And then they look at their life and they say, why am I not where I want to be? You're not where you want to be because your account is empty. You haven't made any deposits. Now let me teach you something about the compound effect, because this is where the real magic happens. Most people are looking for the lottery ticket. They're looking for the big break. They're looking for the one thing that's going to change everything overnight. But that's not how wealth is built. That's not how success is created. That's not how transformation happens. It happens through the compound effect. The compound effect says that small, seemingly insignificant actions repeated consistently over time create massive results. But here's the key. You don't see the results immediately, and that's why most people quit. They do the right thing for 3 days, 5 days, maybe even 2 weeks, and they don't see any change. So they go back to their old habits, but they don't understand that the compound effect is working underneath the surface. When you plant a Chinese bamboo tree, you water it every single day. Year 1, you see nothing. Year 2, nothing. Year 3, nothing. Year 4, still nothing above the ground. But in year 5, that tree grows 90 feet in 6 weeks. Now the question is, did the tree grow in 6 weeks or did it grow in 5 years? It grew in 5 years. All that time you couldn't see anything. The roots were going deep. The foundation was being established. The compound effect was working. Your morning discipline is the same way. When you wake up and you win the battle with yourself on Monday morning, you might not feel any different. Tuesday morning, you do it again, you still don't see any results. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you're starting to wonder if this is even worth it. But what you don't realize is that you're building roots. You're establishing a foundation. You're creating a structure in your life that's about to produce a harvest so big, it's gonna shock you. Every single morning that you conquer yourself, you're not just building discipline for that day. You're building faith muscles that make you stronger for the rest of your life. See, faith without works is dead. Your morning is your works. Your morning is the proof that you believe what you say you believe. You can't say you have faith for a breakthrough and then hit the snooze button. That's not faith, that's fantasy. Let me break down what's really happening when you practice discipline in the morning. You're proving to yourself that you're trustworthy. Most people can't trust themselves because they've broken too many promises to themselves. They said they were going to wake up early, they didn't. They said they were going to work out, they didn't. They said they were going to read, they didn't. So their subconscious mind says, why should I believe you this time? But when you start keeping the promises you make to yourself in the morning, you rebuild that trust. You restore your own credibility with yourself. And here's what's powerful about that. When you trust yourself, you develop an unshakable confidence that carries you through the entire day. You walk into that meeting different. You handle that difficult conversation different. You face that challenge different. Why? Because you already won today. You already conquered the hardest opponent you're ever going to face, yourself. If you can beat you at 5 a.m., you can beat anything at 5 p.m. Now, the compound effect isn't just about addition. It's about multiplication. When you stack one disciplined morning on top of another disciplined morning on top of another disciplined morning, you're not just adding days, you're multiplying results. One strong morning doesn't change your life, but one strong morning times 30 days, that changes your month. One strong morning times 365 days, that changes your year. One strong morning times 3,650 days, that changes your decade, that changes your legacy. But see, most people never experience the compound effect because they never stay consistent long enough to let it work. They're like the person who plants the Chinese bamboo tree, waters it for 3 months, and then digs it up to see if the roots are growing. You just killed your harvest. You just destroyed your compound effect. You've got to trust the process. You've got to trust the law. You've got to trust that if you keep making deposits, the compound interest is going to kick in. And here's what people don't tell you about the compound effect. It works in both directions. Just like small positive actions compound into massive success, small negative actions compound into massive failure. Every time you hit snooze, you're not just losing that morning. You're making a withdrawal from your discipline account. You're training your brain that comfort is more important than commitment. You're building the habit of quitting, and that compounds too. The battle you fight in the morning with yourself is the most important battle you're going to fight all day. Because when you win that battle, you prove to yourself that you're capable. You prove to yourself that you're faithful. You prove to yourself that you're disciplined. And that proof creates a momentum that carries you through every other battle you face. Let me tell you something about currency that most people don't understand. Currency has to circulate to create value. You can't hoard discipline. You can't save it up and use it later. You have to spend it every single day. You have to invest it every single morning. And when you do, the return on investment is exponential. The compound effect takes that daily investment and turns it into wealth that most people can't even imagine. Now look, we've covered a lot of ground here, and I need you to see how these two keynotes lock together like puzzle pieces resources to create the complete picture of why the morning makes you strong. First, we talked about the morning as a weapon and a seed. You learned that your morning is not just time passing by, it's a loaded weapon that gives you advantage over your biggest adversary, which is your past self. You learned that every morning you're planting seeds and you don't get to choose whether you plant, only what you plant. You learned the difference between being a thermometer that reacts to life and a thermostat that sets the temperature for your entire day. Then we went deep into discipline as currency and the compound effect. You learned that discipline is not restriction. It's the medium of exchange that buys the life you want. You learned that small actions repeated consistently don't just add up, they multiply through the compound effect. You learned about the Chinese bamboo tree that grows 90 feet in 6 weeks after 4 years of invisible root development. You learned that every morning you keep a promise to yourself. You're rebuilding trust with the most important person in your life, you. But here's what ties it all together. The morning is where the weapon meets the currency. The morning is where you plant the seed and make the deposit. The morning is where you take that weapon called discipline, you load it with the currency of consistent action, and you fire it at your destiny. See, most people are stuck because they understand one without the other. They know they should be disciplined, but they don't understand it's a weapon. Or they know the morning is important, but they don't understand the compound effect is working underneath the surface when they can't see results yet. But when you put these two principles together, when you weaponize your morning with disciplined deposits and you trust the compound effect to multiply your results, you become unstoppable. You stop being a victim of your circumstances. You stop waiting for your big break. You stop looking for the lottery ticket because you realize you are the break. You are the weapon. You are the seed that's about to produce a harvest that's going to change your entire bloodline. Tomorrow morning, when that alarm goes off, you're standing at a crossroads. One road leads to the same life you've always had, hitting snooze, starting your day reactive, planting seeds of chaos, making withdrawals from an empty account. The other road leads to the life you've been praying for, taking your weapon, planting seeds of power, making deposits of discipline, trusting the compound effect. Which road are you going to take? Because I'm telling you right now, everything changes when your morning changes. Your finances change. Your relationships change. Your confidence changes. Your future changes. Not because of some magic formula, but because you finally understood the law and you started using the law. The morning makes you strong because it's where champions are forged in secret so they can dominate in public. It's where ordinary people do extraordinary things that nobody sees, so later they can do extraordinary things that everybody sees. Now listen carefully because this is important. If what you just heard resonated in your spirit, if you felt something shift inside you, I need you to take action right now while you're still in this moment. First, smash that subscribe button for Myron Golden Insights and hit the bell. We're not building casual viewers here. We're building a tribe of people who are done with excuses and ready for results. Every video on this channel is designed to give you the weapons, the seeds, and the currency you need to transform your life. Second, drop a comment right now and complete this sentence. Tomorrow, I'm waking up at Ba Bin M because Ba Lils. Make it public, make it real. When you declare it, you activate it. Third, if you know someone who needs this message, and you do, send them this video right now. Don't wait. Their breakthrough might be on the other side of you sharing this. Remember, the morning is your weapon. Discipline is your currency. The compound effect is your proof. Use them. This is Myron Golden Insights. We're building champions here one morning at a time. Now go.